This isn't one of those AI will take your job videos. This is a discussion we need to have about where AI actually fits in construction, what it's good at, where it still struggles. And while no one fully knows where this is heading, it's important we start thinking about it. I'm not here to predict the future or sell you the hype. I'm here to share a perspective, to start a conversation about how construction is evolving and what that means for all of us. So let's talk about that honestly, practically, and without the hype. Now picture this, a senior architect retires after nearly 4 decades in the industry. His colleagues throw him a farewell, gave him a token of appreciation, and everybody clapped. And then he walks out of the door. But it makes us wonder what exactly just walked out of that door. Because it's not just a person leaving the company. That's 38 years of experience, knowing when a design might not work, which contractor you can rely on, the shortcuts that come from trial and error, and the relationship that keeps project moving. And all of that, it's gone with the person. Not because he wanted to take it with him, but because our industry has never really figured out how to keep that kind of experience alive. All that knowledge stays inside the person's head, and when they leave, it leaves too. This is what is called the knowledge loss, and it's one of the construction's biggest, or let's say most expensive problem. Every time an experienced person retires or changes job, a part of that practical know-how disappears with them. It happens more often than we realize. Someone spends years learning a company's processes, its suppliers, and how things really get done. And when they move on, the next person starts from the scratch. Right now, that's what makes you valuable. Your knowledge, your experience, your ability to solve problems that aren't in any manual because it can't be copied or downloaded. It's entirely yours. Imagine if every decision you make could be recorded, every problem you solve could be analyzed, every lesson you learn could be digitally stored. Not just for you, but potentially for the entire organization. That question you ask about project challenges could be stored. The way you handle a difficult situation might be analyzed and learned from. The creative solution you found could become part of the searchable database. This could mean construction companies become less dependent on keeping specific individuals. The knowledge might not leave when people do. And that changes everything. Because the thing that once made us irreplaceable might soon be something AI can help capture and share. Construction is not always the most efficient industry, and I think most of us who work in it would probably agree with that. Think about it. How many projects have you been involved that finish exactly on time and exactly on budget? If you have, that's actually remarkable. Most construction projects seem to run over schedule, over budget, with various challenges along the way. And there are legitimate reasons for this. The nature of what we do is fundamentally different from, let's say, manufacturing. Think about it. Every single project has unique variables, different site, different soil, different weather, different client needs, different team, different local regulation, different suppliers available in that area. Now compare that to manufacturing. They produce the same product in the same facility with tested processes repeatedly. They can refine every single step because they are doing it thousands of times. And the predictability is where AI tends to work best. It can learn from the patterns and repetition. But construction, we don't have the same level of repetition. Every project is unique, which means AI has had limited ability to add massive value, at least in traditional construction. But here's where things might be shifting. Prefab construction seems to be gaining significant momentum. And this isn't just about simple structures anymore. We are seeing complex buildings, multi-story structures, even hospitals and educational facilities being manufactured in factories and assembled on site. Entire building modules built in controlled environment, bathroom pods manufactured complete with fixtures and finishes, structural systems assembled and tested before shipping. The future direction seems to be moving construction towards manufacturing principles. And this is where AI potential really increases. AI can analyze the data to find better ways to build, which sequence work fast, where do delay happen, which steps create the most errors or waste. That's where its potential really grows, not in replacing people, but in optimizing how things are built. In a way, construction is slowly moving closer to manufacturing, and that shift is giving AI the structure it needs to make a real impact. Let's be honest, not every role in construction will be safe from automation. If your work mostly involves repetitive or rule-based tasks, well, think about it. Doing the same kinds of drawings, checks, reports, or managing endless documentation that follows the same template and approval steps. These are exactly the kind of activities AI is learning to handle fast and accurately. In fact, one of the biggest areas AI is expected to disrupt is construction documentation. And that's huge because construction documentation easily consumes a large chunk of project time. Drawing updates, coordination sheets, material schedules, markups, revisions, RFIs, and as-built submissions. All these steps are time-intensive and often repetitive. AI tools will soon be able to handle much of this automatically, organizing documents, extracting key information, linking drawings with project data, and even flagging inconsistencies faster than we do today. This means a lot of manual tasks, the formatting, version tracking, file naming, and repetitive data entry could soon be done by machine. And when that happens, documentation-heavy roles may change drastically. If your main value comes from knowing how to operate certain software or follow established documentation workflows, that might not be enough for long, because what feels like expertise today could soon become a one-click operation tomorrow. So let's talk about the other side, skills and roles that seem more resistant to automation. AI can do a lot, no doubt about that, but there are still areas where human experience makes all the difference. Judgment, relationship, context, and accountability. Let's discuss further. First area, if your expertise is in project estimation, finances, and economics, this seems like relatively stable ground. And I'm not just talking about using estimating softwares. I'm talking about deep understanding of how projects actually work financially. Understanding project cost in context, being able to sense when something doesn't add up in a proposal, knowing local labor markets, not just average rates, but realistic productivity, how weather affects schedules, local working practices, knowing your local supply chain, which suppliers deliver on promises, who provides the best value, understanding subcontractors, not just their bid prices, but their actual performance history. This kind of knowledge comes from experience and relationships. It's contextual, it's nuanced. AI can help with estimating tasks, it can analyze data, it can spot unusual patterns, but the judgment call, when something doesn't feel right, when a bid seems off because maybe the scope wasn't fully understood, that's harder to automate. It's the difference between knowing the rules and really understanding the game. This is the part of why planning engineers and quantity surveyors often progress to senior positions. They understand the project economics deeply. They can evaluate whether a project is likely to be profitable. They understand risk. They know where value can be added or protected. Second area, if your expertise is in site execution, hands-on construction management, this also seems relatively safe. Though I should mention, upgrading your digital skills would probably be helpful. Being comfortable with digital tools is becoming more important. Understanding BIM models, using tablets and apps for coordination, working with data from various sources. These aren't necessarily replacing your core skills but complementing them. Here's what's interesting about site execution roles. When unexpected issues come up on site, and they do come up, someone needs to figure out practical solutions. When conditions don't match the drawings, when materials don't fit quite right, when weather affects the schedule and everything needs reorganizing. AI can model scenarios, it can simulate, but making real-time decisions on site with all the complexities and uncertainties, that still seems to need human judgment, field experience, the ability to solve practical problems with real constraint, understanding how things actually work with real people and real conditions. These capabilities remain valuable. The combination of field expertise with digital literacy, that seems like a strong position to be in. Third area, architecture. There's often some misunderstanding about what architects actually contribute to projects. Many people focus on design aspect, but that's just the one component of what architects do. Architects bring a lot more to the table than just design skills. Design is certainly important, but there's usually much more involved. Strategic thinking about what a project really needs, understanding how it fits into broader context, balancing client desires with practical and financial realities. Project management and coordination. Architects often coordinate between many different specialties: engineers, consultants, contractors, authorities, clients. That's complex human coordination. Relationship and network. Knowing who to work with, who delivers quality, who solves problems creatively. These connections take time to develop. Understanding of construction methods, materials, and cost. Being able to design things that can actually be built effectively. AI can certainly help with the design task. It can generate options, optimize for various factors. The ability to manage complex projects with many stakeholders, these seems harder to automate. Architects appear to involve a combination of technical knowledge, creative thinking, and people skill that's quite complex to replicate. Now I know there are many more professionals who play a critical role in the industry, like structural engineers, MEP engineers, and several more. I haven't gone deep into those here because the goal was to add some perspective, not to cover every expertise in one video. Now, there's one more aspect I think is worth discussing. It's about something that might provide more stability than any technical skill. And it's about professional responsibility and accountability. When things go wrong on construction projects, and they do sometimes, there's a question of responsibility, of who stands behind the decisions. Professional accountability, legal liability, these are significant aspects of construction that requires human responsibility. When a building needs certification, someone with a professional license signs off on it. When there are disputes, professionals need to testify and explain their decisions. When something fails, there are questions of professional responsibility. Can AI take legal responsibility? When there's a structural issue, can you hold an algorithm accountable? These are the questions without clear answers, and probably for good reason. This is a part of why we have licensed engineers, registered architects, certified project managers. It's not only about knowledge, it's about professional accountability. When a professional stamps drawings or signs off on critical decisions, they're accepting personal responsibility, their license, their reputation, their professional standings. This human element of responsibility and accountability, it's fundamental to how construction works. It provides a level of assurance. AI might assist with analysis, optimization, and predictions, but the responsibility for decisions, that seems to remain with humans. This isn't about fear or resistance to technology. It's about recognizing that some aspects of professional practice are inherently human. Honestly, I don't know how to summarize this one, maybe because it's still a work in progress. Every time I talk or think about AI in construction, I end up with more questions than answers. The industry is evolving and I'm still learning. And I'm sure a year from now I will look back and see things a little differently. And maybe that's okay. That's how it should be. We are all figuring this out together. So for now, I will leave it here. On that note, this human will see you in the next one.